What is up, guys, and welcome back to another F1 2017 career mode video. Today we have the Chinese Grand Prix. Before we get stuck into things, check out the first episode if you haven't seen it already. Basically, just the introduction to career mode. We went through the first race, and we also did our first invitational event. Now, one of the comments that was, standing out in the first video was, I wasn't running Ultimate AI. Well, I was. I just didn't show the footage where after I showed what difficulty I was on. I then fast forwarded and then I upped the difficulty just after that. So yeah, don't panic. I am on ultimate difficulty 104. We can still up it a little bit, but I just want to find my bearings and just see if we can get the balance right in terms of the difficulty. But yeah, so far we're really struggling in terms of just overall car performance. We've got a lot of work to do in terms of resource points. I think we've got 600 odd, and hopefully by the end of this episode we might be putting on some upgrades and seeing how we go with that. We're still waiting for our first power unit upgrade, so that might be coming at the end of this episode, or potentially heading into the next one when we go to Bahrain, I believe. But running through all the practice programs, this is going to be absolutely key for us to maintaining competitive throughout the season and just, upgrading our car. And we basically smashed through all of the practice programs and we ended up in 18th place. So, yeah, pretty uncompetitive. But when we go into qualifying, we're going to chuck on a decent setup, low fuel, fresh tyres, and we'll see how we go. It's time for quali.
We'd like to welcome you from wherever in the world you join us today for this F1 qualifying session here in Shanghai, China.
It won't be easy getting out of this qualifying session, but see what you can do.
Alright, so here we are for qualifying for the Chinese Grand Prix. It must be said, this isn't my favourite track on the calendar, and nor do I do overly well here, so I'm not having too high expectations. But if we can get out of qualifying one, then that'd be a massive achievement for this McLaren Honda, considering it doesn't have too much done to it in the way of upgrades. First lap done, puts us P6. I know that sounds good, but on merits we were only last out of everyone who set a lap time. But as everyone completes their runs, we get dropped down to 18th place, and yes, we do have full qualifying on this time. I accidentally left it on short qualifying, which I didn't mean to do that, and then we found out that short quali, you only get 12 minutes, and that's not enough time to extract the full potential out of the car. But qualifying one, we'll see what we can do. We improved by 2.5 tenths on that second lap, and yeah, we're still not exactly where we want to be. Still behind our teammate Fernando Alonso. I think it's 4 tenths the difference between us two, so hopefully on our final run here we can pull something out of the bag like Fernando often does in this car, and I don't know, get a result that we are really looking for. Through the first sector, fairly solid, 2 tenths up on what was a fairly solid lap anyway in the second run that I did on the second set of tyres. Through to turn 4 now, and went in there really deep and got on the power nice and early as well. We're creeping up to 2.5 tenths up on our previous best through this long sweeping left-hander through the middle sector. There's a lot of time to be gained here. I don't think I maximized this section of the track on the previous attempt, especially on the exit here. It's very easy to lose the back end, and again, I've done it again, but not quite as bad as my previous attempts. 3.5 tenths up as we go to the third sector split now, and as you can imagine, I do not like this sector of the track, given the car that we're in. So we're just going to watch the delta. Well, our delta isn't going to be too fine against our own best lap, but if we watch it versus other cars, it's just going to be so far in the red, it's going to be a joke. But compared to our own delta, 4.5 tenths up, just about 5 tenths. So we're looking really good here, and we might be a chance. Oh no, I've actually stuffed up there of getting out of qualifying one, but maybe that little mistake there into the hairpin might cost me as we head through the final corner. Can we get over 5 tenths on our delta? Slight cut at the final corner. DRS, I'll run up to the line, and it is only 17th place. So that was one spot away from getting out of qualifying one. We'll scroll down and see who we beat. We beat our teammate Fernando Alonso, 3 tenths. I think even without that corner cut at the final corner, I think we still would have got him, and it wouldn't have really affected our grid position anyway. But good to beat our teammate. Not so good being trapped in qualifying one. Hopefully going forward we can just edge ourselves closer and closer up towards the front of the grid. But it's going to take baby steps, and I'll take it. Hey, China, we passed our objective on one of the worst tracks on the calendar. It's time for the race.
Joining me once again to take you through this race is the effervescent Anthony Davidson, and I'm very much looking forward to it getting underway. You raced here, of course, didn't you, back in your Super Aguri days in that infamous Chinese Grand Prix of 2007?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't last that long though, unfortunately. Qualifying had gone pretty well, but my brakes failed quite early in the race, around lap 10 or 11, something like that. And of course, back in 2004, I was the very first Formula 1 driver to complete a lap of this circuit. Just thought I'd mention that for you, Crofty. You like a good stat. It's a fairly tough circuit on the brakes here, though. You know, there's that long back straight down into turn 14, and then you got turns 6 and 11. They're quite heavy as well. On top of that, managing your front tyre wear is always a challenge around here, so there's a lot to keep in mind during the Grand Prix.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Thanks, Jeffrey, and I know what you can do. Don't let me down this time. But here we are for the Chinese Grand Prix. If you don't get that reference, check out the last episode. Things went very pear-shaped in the back end of that race. But here we go for the formation lap, starting in 17th place. Often with this car, we've got to be aggressive off the start. We've just got to try and gain as many positions as what we can. Hope for retirements, hope for incidents with the other people, and just hope to pick up as many positions as what we can. We've got to be desperate at this part of the season when the performance just isn't there. Risk-taking is ultimately the way to go. On the soft tyres, we'll see what we can do. One stop for this race, 5 red lights, and we are underway for the Chinese Grand Prix, round number 2 of Season 1 of F1 2016 Career Mode, and it's 3 wide. Just casually heading into turn 1 with my teammate on the inside, Daniel Kvyat as well on the inside of Alonso, and we got shoved out a little bit by our teammate. Now we're just forcing our way around the outside of a couple of cars, one of the Renaults as well. Jolyon Palmer get mugged. That's P14. He's possibly going to get me on the exit, so Jolyon has actually mugged me back, and well, it's P15 at the end of the first sector. Let's see if we can go for a dive here. The AI are often very slow. It's not really their fault. There's a lot of cars here, and you don't want to be running into the back of another car, so I can fully understand why they're a little bit cautious. The AI are nowhere near as bad as previous games when it comes to being slow on the first lap, but yeah, P13, we've got one of the Force Indias going up our inside here. Let's go really deep under brakes and try and hold on to that position, which I think we do manage to acquire. Next up is Hulkenberg, but I think our upward spiral towards the grid, the front of the grid, might be over now as Sergio Perez goes up the inside. He's very compromised into the right-hander, and he squeezed us completely off the track there. Partly my fault because I squeezed him so far to the right. He had a very tight angle heading into turn 1, and now we're getting tangled up with Jolyon Palmer as well. So a lot of aggression at the start of this Chinese Grand Prix. Like I told you guys, we had to be aggressive and we had to make our way through the field. We just can't afford to take any prisoners. And so we're going back up the inside of Jolyon, back into P14. And at this point, Sergio Perez has lost. He's on the faster compounder tyre as well, so that might be the last time we see him in this Grand Prix. A replay of the start then. We got a really nice exit. We're on the right side of the track, kind of like the racing line. It's the kind of line that you take, so our side of the grid was much more rubbered up, and that's the moment around the outside of Alonso. That's the second time we've made contact in 2 races, and I don't imagine he's going to be too happy with me in the debrief later today, but we dive it up the inside of one of the Renaults, and then Jolyon gets me back around the outside with a really nice move there, and he took back P14 and only took a bit of a dive bomb heading into turn 4, which resulted in us getting the place back. We also got one of the Force Indias as well, who was caught napping behind his teammate, so that was a nice position to gain as well. But we carry back on to the action now live on lap 3. This is Jolyon again getting his place back. We go really deep under brakes, actually lock up the inside front there, and that's resulted in us getting the place back, but there might be a little bit of tyre damage there or additional wear that might come with that lock-up later on in the Grand Prix. Though saying that, tyre wear on this game is not really an issue, given how good the tyres are. But we go back up the inside of Jolyon, who overtook me on the straight, and that is us back into P14. Very aggressive dive back to the inside. I probably could have held the outside, but hey, it looked a lot more flashy by going straight back up the inside there and showing Jolyon who was boss. So in this McLaren Honda, we're definitely going to have to be eager under brakes in order to not only overtake people, but more importantly to hold position. And speaking of hold position, that's not what we've done. Safety car has been deployed as Sebastian Vettel comes out of nowhere from the pits and barges us in the side as the safety car has been deployed here on lap 7. I gotta say, the AI are not afraid to make contact. They're not afraid to, you know, be aggressive and be argy-bargy with you. And we've seen so many instances of that so far. Even at the start of this Grand Prix already, there could even be more incidents later on once things get quite serious towards the end of the race. But we're coming into the pits now. We're going to fit on the medium tyres, and I think we're going to try and stretch this to the end of the race. I'm actually very surprised that no one else has come in. Given how long the tyres last on this game, I would have thought more people would have gambled on this strategy, but hey, I'll take it. Looks like only a couple of people have stopped in this Grand Prix, including Vettel and some of the leaders inside the top 10 who stopped right as the safety car came out. So those guys are all going to be in the box seat. The people who are absolutely screwed are the people who started on the supers and haven't come in yet. They're effectively going to lose a pit stop once they effectively make that stop. Whenever that happens, they could stretch it out now and see how it plays out. But yeah, we're in the box seat. We're in 19th place, but everyone else in front of us still needs to pit again for the rest of this Grand Prix, whereas we're going to try and stretch it out. We might be holding on for dear life towards the end, but that's the risk we're going to take in this McLaren Honda. There's a Force India going slowly, and he spun out. And Sergio, he's got a puncture, I think, in the rear end. He just completely spun out through turn 1 there. That was really weird. As we see on the replay, he's got a right rear puncture, and he just doesn't have the grip to keep it in a straight line, and we did very well to avoid him there. He was kind of spinning onto the racing line, and that is him effectively out of this race. He's going to be a long way off the lead. But we carry on to lap 11. A lot of the leaders have now stopped. Raikkonen is now behind me. So too are the likes of Bottas and Hamilton. We had a brief virtual safety car that came out. Didn't really affect our race. Everyone just slowed down to a regular pace, and about 2 minutes later, Raikkonen closed down the gap by about 3 or 4 seconds to now overtaking me straight away. That's that's how fast the AI are. It's ridiculous. We're 3 seconds a lap slower than them in qualifying, and that's on the same tyre compound. These guys are on the supers, so they were something like 4 or 5 seconds faster. It was really outrageous to see just how much faster they were, even in the corners. The McLaren is supposed to be decent, but even there, like, they just flew past me. And again, look at this Ricciardo. I run slightly wide, and he doesn't need a second invitation, takes the spot, and that's us down to 8th place. So, yeah, we have a long way to go to make this McLaren Honda competitive. We just got to continue to get the resource points and upgrade this thing as aggressively as what we can in order to be competitive. But we're not doing too bad in this race, it must be said. The strategy has really played us in well. We're only effective P4 or P5, counting all the people who have stopped so far. So we're not doing too bad. We're not exactly racing the likes of the Red Bulls, the Ferraris, the Mercedes. We're battling the guys on the edge of the top 10, like the Toro Rossos, the Force Indias, the Renaults, those kind of guys for edge points. Hamilton makes his second stop of the Grand Prix and rejoins just in front of us. On cold tyres, he doesn't look that quick, but as soon as they get up to temperature, he'll be blasting off into the distance, and we'll never see him again. But lap 19, this is the kind of phase of the race now where that is the gap to the cars behind, and this is all for position now for the last, I don't know, 9 laps of this Grand Prix. So we've got Magnussen behind us, we've got both of the Renaults, we've got Grosjean, I think one of the Williams as well. So this is all legitimately for position now, and all of the pit stops have taken effect now. So if we stay as we are now, we'll finish in 6th place and get 8 points, but there's still a lot of racing to go and a lot of cars behind me with a lot of pace on fresher tyres wanting to force their way through. So from here on in, we've got a lot of work to do if we want to finish inside the points. And look at this. This is both the Haas and Massa flying up my inside. There was actually a bit of contact there. Like I said, AI don't mind a bit of argy-bargy, especially if it means they're going to get a position. And Magnussen basically forces me out onto the ripple strip there. And again, there's contact with Massa. He turns in to the corner like he's entitled to do, but yeah, again, we made a slight bit of contact, and Magnussen has just gone way up the road So as you can imagine right now, the pace on these old medium tyres is not great, but at least we're being consistent. The tyre wear isn't too bad. I think it's around 30 or 40%. So we're easily going to make it to the end here. It's just a case of holding on to a points finish, which is looking ever dire at this stage. Actually, Magnussen has made a stop. So that's going to be a position for us as Massa slides up our inside and we get the DRS this time. We're getting hit again by Grosjean. What is it with the Haas drivers? They love making contact, don't they? That's Verstappen as well going up the inside of Grosjean. Everything's happening in this Chinese Grand Prix. I can't even keep up. And we try and go back up the inside of Verstappen. Contact was made there. Then Grosjean makes contact with Verstappen. And now I've got Jolyon Palmer up my inside as well for one of the final spots inside the top 10. Actually, it's Hulkenberg. Nice David Croft's moment there as we go back up the inside and back into 9th place. So as you can see, the tyre wear isn't too bad. It's just our pace is just horrible. It just is. And we're just trying to do our absolute best to stay in the position that we've got at the moment. We've been running in rich all race, pretty much. We overfilled the car massively, and I think that was down to the race strategy practice program that I did. Based on the fuel usage, the team gave me a huge allocation of fuel, and I've been running in rich revs, especially on the straights, and I think that's really been hurting the engine. The MG UK is down to 51% in terms of its lifespan. So we're not doing too good, but we're absolutely going to rinse the rest of this power unit if it means that we finish inside the points. But here we go, there's a battle for position for the two Renaults. This is for 10th place. That's Jolyon Palmer going up the inside of Hulkenberg, and I was really cheering him on here because that was holding both of those guys up and allowing me to get away with only 4 laps to go in this Chinese Grand Prix. Up to rich rev still. We're still pretty fine on fuel. It's getting close though. Only half a lap clear in terms of being in the green. That's a massive loss of the back end through the Snell section. Exactly not what you want in the dying laps when you're trying to hold back 2 Renault cars. And now this is going to be a really good comparison to see what the straight line speed is like versus Jolyon Palmer. And look at that. Even without slipstream, he still slides right past us and goes around the outside. Let's see if we can get him back up the inside. Squeeze him out. Job done. We've just got to keep doing that. We've just got to get a really nice exit off of the really slow and long right-hander. I call it the snail section because it kind of looks like a snail when you look at it on the mini-map. I think the first sector is officially known as the snail section, but I call that that long right-hander the snail section as well for some reason. But either way, 26 laps in, and we're still in the points here in this McLaren Honda. We're doing so well at this point. Jolyon goes up the inside. I'm going to try and get the better traction, the better momentum around the outside, and that is exactly what happens there. And we're still in a fighting position at this stage. I can't believe it.
This is your final lap of the race. Our gap to our teammate is 17.1 seconds. Some information on Palmer. They have some kind of mechanical problem.
Oh, okay. Jolyon Palmer has a mechanical problem, which is slowing him down, and he's the car that's immediately right behind me, so that is exactly what I need in order to finish in the points in this Grand Prix. Look at the gap we've already mounted back to Jolyon. It's about a second or two already, and something is slowing him down. I don't know if it's a slow puncture or if it's front wing damage or, I don't know, engine issues, but it's really allowing me to pull away. He got overtaken by Hulkenberg. He's getting overtaken by Grosjean, I believe, and now the Toro Rosso is lining him up. But as we go through the final corner, it is going to be a points finish in the McLaren Honda. Thank you very much.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
And as the adrenaline dies down after another eventful Grand Prix, here come the top 3 out onto the podium.
Haha, yes! A points finish in the McLaren Honda. Kimi Räikkönen and the Mercedes have finished on the podium. I absolutely do not care. It's not relevant to our career mode at all. But that's a result we desperately needed and really eases the pressure on us in the championship and going forward into the next few races.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It's a good result for Kimi Räikkönen, who extends his advantage at the top of the championship. Now then, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
Today I'm going to give it to the McLaren driver. They fought so hard and had incredible pace at times, so I don't think anyone else did a better job today.
Thanks, Anthony. Driver of the day, thank you very much. I will definitely take that. A net gain of 8 positions, and we were the lead guy on the one stop. I don't think that position would have been possible without pitting under safety car and just absolutely stretching the tyres to the end. We did everything we could in that race. It was so hard to hold on to position, but we managed to do so. We fried the engine in the process. The MG UK is down to 50%, but I don't care. We've got points, and that is one massive leg up in the championship over our teammate and the guys like in the Saubers, the Renaults as well. That's really going to help us so early on in this championship when points are going to be so hard to come by. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you smash the like button for this points finish in this McLaren. You guys have no idea how hard that was to achieve, but we've managed to do so very early on in the career mode. In terms of the rivalry, we actually didn't get any points over Alonso, which is disappointing. He set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix out of the two of us. And yeah, that kind of didn't really do our favours too well, though. In terms of our reputation with the other teams, we've really won over the hearts of Force India and Sauber. So if, you know, any other team wants to snap us up, then we are looking pretty attractive right now. In terms of the resource points, we have over 1,000 now, and we can upgrade either... I think we can upgrade just about anything, especially early on. Most things seem to cost about 1,000 points. I can upgrade either the chassis or the aero, but you guys know me. You guys know this for McLaren Honda. We're going for the power unit, but we still need to wait for the first upgrade to come through, which will be happening in the next episode when we get to Bahrain, I believe. Then after that upgrade gets applied, we can then start on the second upgrade. So a little bit frustrating that we have to wait for the first upgrade to work, but there are other little bonuses and unlocks in the career mode where you can do multiple upgrades at the same time, and we just haven't unlocked that bonus yet. But I'll explain it later on in the career mode. We can upgrade faster, basically, once we finish or beat more of the core competencies further on down the line. In terms of the gearbox and the power unit, apparently the power unit is only at 28% wear, but when I was looking at the MG UK mid-race, it was 54%, so the wear rates are not lining up there accordingly. But either way, the McLaren does not seem to be good on the old engine life, so we might be running into some problems in a race or two's time. But in terms of like the strategy of the engine, I'm going to be running this first engine right down to until it dies, basically. There's no points because I want to save the fresher engines for later on in the season and for when we're faster anyway. So while we're slow, while we're crap, we're going to get this crap engine out the way and just basically run it until it blows up. And then we'll take the engines from there, I don't know, after Monaco. I think for Monaco, it's going to be our best chance to win a race. So we'll get on the podium, we'll get solid points. So I might chuck in a fresh power unit there. I know it doesn't make sense, but just trying to maximize the races where we're going to do well is the strategy that we're going to be playing in this career mode. There's a lot to think about, and that's why I love this scenario that we're in a really slow car. Hopefully you guys join me for the journey for the future episodes. I've been waffling on too long, but thanks guys for watching. I'll see you guys for a brand new F1 2017 video very soon.